Now stomach opens through the pyloric sphincter, right, into the small intestine, right? It opens into the small intestine. Small intestine divided into three parts, that is the duodenum, jejunum, and the ileum, right? Duodenum, jejunum, and the ileum, right? Duodenum is the smallest part, but that is the site where the digestion of the carbohydrate, protein, and fat is completed. And jejunum and ileum, in jejunum and ileum, absorption is there. Maximum absorption occurs in the jejunum, right? Maximum absorption occurs in the region of the jejunum. In posterior portion, little bit absorption occurs in the ileum, right? Pairs patches present maximum absorption, maximum Pairs patches in ileum, right? Maximum Pairs patches in ileum. So what will happen in that small intestine? There are three secretions is get mixed with the to complete the process of digestion, right? The secretion of liver, that is the bile, from the liver and the gallbladder, because liver helps in the synthesis of the bile and gallbladder stores it, right? Gallbladder just store the bile and concentrate the bile, right? Then in bile there are number of organic salts, and organic salts are present, right? Sodium taurocholate, sodium glycolate, sodium carbonate, sodium bicarbonate is present there, with the bile pigments like the bilirubin and the biliverdin, right? And the bile salts also there, right? Organic, inorganic salt, organic, inorganic salts, right? Like the sodium glycolate, sodium taurocholate, sodium bicarbonate, and sodium carbonate. Then bile pigments, which is the excretory waste material of the liver, right? In the form of the bilirubin and the biliverdin, in the form of the bilirubin and the biliverdin. Clear? And the third is the bile. So these are the bile salts, right? And these bile salts is made up of that. Clear? So these bile salts helps in the emulsification of fat, right? These bile salts helps in the emulsification of fat. Other than that, in bile, the cholesterol and the lecithin, all these things are also present with the bile, right? Now, from the pancreas, pancreatic juice is present, right? Pancreatic juice is present. In pancreatic juice, a number of enzymes is present, right? What kind of enzymes? That is the trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, right? Nucleases, question of pre-medical 2015, right? Nuclease, the steapsin, the fat group of the fat digesting enzyme, right? The huge amount of the fat digesting enzymes are present in the pancreatic juice, right? Then pancreatic lipase, pancreatic amylase, right? All these kinds of the enzymes are present in the secretion of the pancreatic juice, which helps to complete the process of digestion, right? Now, what will happen the intestinal juice is known as the succus entericus, right? Intestinal juice is known as the succus entericus, and that succus entericus carries number of enzymes, right? That is the enterokinase. That enterokinase acts upon the trypsin to get activate, and trypsinogen to convert into the trypsin and activate form, right? And after the conversion of trypsinogen into trypsin, that trypsin activates the another enzymes, right? That trypsin activates the another enzymes, right? Then disaccharidases like the sucrase, which is also known as the invertase, right? Maltase and the lactase. Clear? So eripsin is also present in it. Clear? Intestinal lipase, right? So all these kinds of polynucleotidase, nucleotidase, right? All these enzymes are present in the intestinal juice, which is known as the succus entericus, and by the combined activities of these in small intestine, in the part of the duodenum, which is the smallest portion of the small intestine, the digestion of the carbohydrate, protein and fat is completed here, right? In duodenum, in the submucosa, in duodenum, in the submucosal region, in submucosa of duodenum, there is a mucus secreting and the specific duodenal glands is present, which is called the Brunner's gland, right? Which is called the Brunner's gland. Clear? So in that manner, they acts as why these secretions are necessary to form the intestinal juice, the succus entericus, right? And to maintain the alkalinity, because they all these secretions reduces the acidity of the chyme, which is due to the presence of the HCl of the stomach, right? So now this is all about the, right? Now what will happen? Listen carefully. There is teeth and all these things, right? But when we talk about the digestion process, the digestion starts from the mouth. Why? Because in our mouth, salivary glands are present, right? These salivary glands are present, and in salivary glands in humans, there are 3 pairs of salivary glands are there. First one is the parotid salivary gland, right? Second is the submaxillary, and third one is the submandibular salivary gland, right? What will happen? It forms the maximum amount of saliva, but when we talk about, these are the pair glands and these are the exocrine pair glands, right? These are the exocrine glands, that means the glands with duct, right, which pour their secretion through the duct, right? The duct of the parotid salivary gland is the Stenson's duct. Submaxillary duct is the Wharton's duct. Duct of Rivenus. Largest salivary gland, smallest salivary gland, right? Now there is a specific enzyme is present here in the secretion of the parotid salivary gland, which is known as the ptyalin, or also called the salivary alpha amylase, right? It is salivary alpha amylase, and it is the enzyme which starts the digestion of the starch. In 30% starch is digested by the ptyalin or the salivary alpha amylase in the mouth, right? So it starts from there. 30% carbohydrate is digested by the salivary alpha amylase in the mouth. After that, and that salivary gland secretes per day 1 to 1.5 liters, right? It secretes 1 to 1.5 liters saliva per day. Right? It is in liters, but in some questions sometimes it is asked in ml also, so that is the 1000 to 1500 ml. It is 1000 to 1500 ml, right? So after that, when digestion occurs in the stomach, right? Because in esophagus there is no digestion, and when digestion occurs in the stomach by the secretion of that, then what will happen? That pepsin, when the protein pepsin acts at a pH of 1.8, right? Gastric juice, due to the presence of that HCl, the pH of stomach is 1.8, the pH of the gastric juice is 1.8, right? So when it acts upon that, what will happen? That protein is converted into the peptones, proteoses, and the peptides, right? Peptones, proteoses, and the peptides. Clear? So in that manner, that the digestion of protein starts from the stomach, right? Now when it comes into the small intestine, then all these acts upon the the amount of the carbohydrate, the protein, and the fat, right? So they can digest, that is in mouth. When 30% starch is digested, it is converted into partially digested maltose, right? And the complete digestion occurs here, right? Now what will happen after the complete digestion of uh, after the complete digestion after the absorption, right? After the absorption of the food, that absorption occurs through the lacteals. And what are the lacteals? Lymph capillaries around a villus, right? Lymph capillaries around a villus is known as the lacteals. Right? So after that absorption, the nutrients goes through the portal vein, right? And they enters inside the liver, where the detoxification occur, right? The separation of the new absorption of the nutrients is occur, right? And after that, when these nutrients reach up to these cells, there is the assimilation process, right? Assimilation process is there. That means by the utilization of these kinds of the nutrients, they form the carbohydrate, protein, and the fat by the cells in the required form. Clear? So this kind of process is called the assimilation. In absorption of food, there is the absorption occurs in two ways, that is active, passive, right? Active and passive. Sometimes it is by that facilitated diffusion or the simple diffusion, right? So when we talk about the some absorption of the fat, it is active, right? Amino acid is absorbed by the active, passive, or the facilitated or the simple diffusion, any possible way through the it is absorbed, right? And it is mentioned in NCRT as well, right, in the absorption of food paragraph. Clear? So simply in that manner they absorb. Now what will happen when through the portal vein it enters in the liver? And we know that the liver is the important part of the body, because it is the chemical factory of the body, right? And in liver, the structural and functional unit of liver is, we can say, it is covered hepatic lobules, right? The hepatic lobules, each when we see the cut section of the number of hepatic lobules are there, right? And through that the hepatocytes is presented there, and hepatocytes are arranged in the form of cord, right? Each hepatic lobule is covered by a Glisson's capsule, right, which is the sheath of connective tissue. Each hepatic lobule is covered by sheath of Glisson's capsule. These are the hepatic lobules. Hepatocytes, that means the liver cells, are arranged in the form of cords, and all these hepatocytes are open into a central vein, right? It opens into the central vein. These hepatocytes are arranged in the form of cord, one or two cell thick cord, like that. Right? And these hepatocytes forms the bile and pour the bile into the canalicules, which is parallelly run through these hepatocytes, right? Between two hepatic cords there is a space is present, which is called the hepatic sinusoids, right? That is the space which is called the hepatic sinusoids, and that hepatic sinusoid is lined with the blood vessels. That hepatic sinusoids, that is the pores, openings, right? That is filled with the blood, or it is lined with the endothelium. Clear? It is lined with the endothelium, and in that hepatic lobules there are portal system is present. There is portal system is portal triad is present. Portal system, hepatic portal system is there. Portal triad, what is that portal triad? That is the combination of the hepatic artery, hepatic portal vein, and hepatic duct. That is the combination of the hepatic artery, hepatic portal vein, and hepatic duct, right? What is that portal system? When some organ pour their deoxygenated blood through the another organ's by the use of another organ's vein, right? This kind of system is called the portal system, right? This is called the portal system. And what will happen, that hepatic vein, after assimilation, that hepatic vein which carry the all the nutrients with the some toxic substance or all these things, it enters inside the liver, which is reddish brown in appearance, right, which is reddish brown in appearance. What will happen, it enters inside the liver, right, it divides into the branches, right, it divides into the branches where the detoxification of the substances occur, right. It carries, that hepatic portal vein carries maximum amount of ammonia, it carries maximum amount of ammonia, right. And this is the question of pre-medical, right, that hepatic portal vein, it carries the maximum amount of the ammonia, that ammonia through the urea cycle in the liver, it converted into the urea, right. Processic acid is converted into the potassium sulfocyanide, right. So simply these kind of activities occur in that, right. The defense mechanism is also present. So after the detoxification or the absorption of all these things and the carbohydrate metabolism which occurs in that, right, uh, at the time of that is, first one is the glucogenesis, in which what will happen, excessive amount of glucose is converted into the glycogen and stored in the liver and the muscles, right, and that conversion is done by the insulin hormone, which is secreted by the beta cells of the pancreas, right. Second process is known as the glycogenolysis, right. In case of the starvation, what will happen, the stored glycogen of the liver is degraded in presence of the hormone glucagon, which is secreted by the alpha cells of the pancreas and converted again into the glucose, right, and gives the energy and used in the metabolism of the cells, right. Third one is the gluconeogenesis, that means the new molecule of glucose is formed without any carbohydrate compound, right, by the use of the amino acids and some fatty acids also, right. So these by the use of these we form a new molecule of glucose. And the fourth process is known as the glyconeogenesis, that means the formation of new molecule of glycogen, right, by the lactic acid, right. And how that lactic acid comes from, where it comes from the anaerobic respiration. In case of anaerobic respiration in muscles, the pyruvic acid is converted into the lactic acid and deposited into the muscles, especially in the calf muscles, right. And what will happen, the stony hardness is there with the pain, that is due to the deposition of lactic acid, and gradually that lactic acid is converted into the glycogen, right. So by the, that's why that process and that cycle is known as the Cori cycle, that cycle is known as the Cori cycle, which occur inside the muscles in case of the anaerobic respiration, clear. So these, all these functions occurs in the liver with specific function which is related with the digestive system, that is the synthesis of bile, right. After that, that bile is stored in the gallbladder, right. After the formation of that bile, that is stored in the gallbladder, which is the storage house of the bile. What will happen here, gallbladder stores, right, that gallbladder stores and stores the bile concentrated, that, right, clear. So in that manner, whole the process of digestion is completed, right. One more thing, after the assimilation and all these things, when the fecal matter or the undigested food material. Large intestine, small intestine is continued in the large intestine, right? The part of ileum, that is the small intestine part, ileum, opens into the large intestine, right? It opens into the large intestine in the part of the cecum, right? That large intestine is divided into cecum, colon, rectum, and the anal canal, right? In that colon, it is divided into ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, and the sigmoid colon or the colon, right? There are a three ribbon like structure is present, right? From the in whole part of the colon, which is called the tinea coli, and it forms a pocket like structure due to the pressure of that tinea coli. Longitudinal muscle fibers are actually there, right? And they forms the hostra, and due to the presence of that hostra, you can see, we know that the large intestine is larger in diameter, right? It is larger in diameter. Just like that, it's a tentative diagram just to understand, right? In cecum region, there is a worm-like structure, highly coiled structure is present, which is called the appendix. It is called the vermiform appendix, right? It is called the vermiform appendix. That portion is known as the cecum. That is called the cecum, right? That portion which goes upward, that is called the ascending colon. This portion is called the transverse colon. This is called the descending colon, and the S-shaped part is called the sigmoid colon, right? This is known as the rectum, which is the storage house of the feces, right? Rectum is the storage house of the feces. In that particular portion, that is called the anal canal, because it is a canal like structure present in the anus, and that is called the anus, right? This is called the anus. Now what will happen, just due to the presence of these thread like three ribbon like structures of the tinea, right? This is called the tinea coli. Tinea coli, the pocket like structure is formed like that, which is called the hostra, right? And due to the fat filled tissues in the whole length of the colon, that bulged portion, it looks like that bulkiness is just due to the deposition of that fat filled tissue, and it is called the epiploic appendages, right? It is called the epiploic appendages, right? So that's why the large intestine, there is digestive glands are absent. This is the structure of the large intestine, right? And there is digestive glands is absent. That's why there is no digestion. Digestive glands are absent. So there are two structure where digestion is absent, that is in esophagus and the large intestine digestion is absent, right? Digestion is absent. Only mucous glands is present in both the regions, right? And some amount of the water is absorbed here, and the waste excreta is fermented here by the some microbes, right? And it converted into the fecal matter, which is after that it's stored in that particular region, right? And the whole process through which that the from the mouth to the anus, uh, the movement through which the food comes enters and comes up to the last stage, that is called the peristalsis movement. So when we technically define the peristalsis movement, what is that? That is the alternate contraction and relaxation of the longitudinal and the circular muscles, right? That is called the peristalsis movement. The minimum peristalsis movement is present in the esophagus, right? No, it is yes, minimum peristalsis in esophagus, right? And maximum in the duodenum, that is the 12 times per minute. Clear? So simply in that manner, there is no digestion in the large intestine, no assimilation, complete digestion, it occurs in the in small intestine, right? So in that manner, we'll study about the whole digestive system, right? When the food get mixed with the saliva, then it is called the bolus, right? When that bolus get mixed with the gastric juice, then it is called the chyme. When that chyme is get mixed with the secretions of the intestine, or we can say the intestinal juices, with the bile and pancreatic juice and the succus entericus, then it is converted into the chyle, right? Now what will happen? There is question which is related with the balanced diet also, right? What is that balanced diet? That means to take a proper and adequate amount of the carbohydrate, the protein and the fat in our daily routine life or in our diet, right? It's called balanced diet, proper and adequate amount of, right? There are two values which is based upon the fuel intake, right? And the pattern intake. First one is the calorific fuel value. Second one is the physiological fuel value, right? First one is the calorific fuel value, second one is the physiological fuel value. Actually that calorific fuel value, we take 1 per gram carbohydrate, protein and fat in laboratory, right? In laboratory we by the oxidation of per gram carbohydrate, protein and fat, how much energy is obtained by the oxidation of that, right? It is called the calorific fuel value. For carbohydrate it is 4.10 kilocalorie per gram, right? For protein 5.65 kilocalorie per gram, and for fat 9.45 calorie per gram, right? But when we talk about the physiological, that means the oxidation per gram oxidation of the carbohydrate, protein, and fat occur inside the cell, right? That is called the physiological fuel value, right? What will happen? 4 kilocalorie per gram for carbohydrate. For protein, it's again 4 kilocalorie per gram, and for fat it is 9 kilocalorie per gram, right? So this is all about the balanced diet. And if some person will not take the all the macronutrients and the micronutrients in proper amount, then they will suffer from the malnutrition like the kwashiorkor, right? Kwashiorkor and the marasmus. These are the nutritional deficiency disorders, right? These are the nutritional deficiency disorders. In kwashiorkor, severe protein deficiency occur. Right, in case of marasmus, it is protein energy malnutrition. That means the carbohydrate and protein deficiency. Right, protein energy malnutrition, that means it is the carbohydrate and energy malnutrition, right? In another disorders of the digestive system, jaundice is there, right? That is, it is also known as the icterus jaundice, that is icterus, due to the dysfunctioning of the liver, right? Because if liver does not properly work, then the bilirubin and biliverdin will it cannot be metabolized, right? And if the amount of bilirubin and biliverdin increases, it causes the jaundice, right? The next is the vomiting. What is that vomiting? What is that vomiting? That is the ejection of the contents of the mouth, contents of the stomach through the mouth. That is completely out all the contents of the stomach, right? Nausea, that is sensation of vomiting, feeling of vomiting, right? Diarrhea. What is diarrhea? That is the abnormal frequency of the bowel movements is called the diarrhea. Clear? And the last is the constipation. What will happen in case of constipation? If the person does not take the required amount of water, right, then what will happen? Due to the decreased amount of the water, mucus secretion is all mucus formation is also affected. So there is difficulty in the movement to complete the peristalsis movement, right? And that fecal matter retained in the rectum, right, and which causes the multiple diseases. So this is all about the summary of the digestive system. Clear? Digestion and the absorption.